Ah, yeah, here we go, Aller. Nice one. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to host you.
Thank you.
On our radio show this evening. So I can say, ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Jean-Michel Jarre.
Thank you very much.
Listen, I know that you also played in Monte Carlo for the Prince Albert Monte Carlo.
Yes, for the Prince Albert wedding. It was a great big outdoor show in the bay, and the stage was in the middle of the sea, of the water. And it's the first time that I played in front of actually 3 countries, because actually you had the hill was a bit of France, a bit of Monaco, and a bit of Italy, you know.
Jean-Michel, you are considered a pioneer of electronic music in the music field, but do you also consider yourself as a kind of ambassador for the new generations and musicians and producers?
I must say that I feel honored first, but much more in phase now. I mean, releasing my new album than I was when I started. Because when I started, I was even not considered as playing on real instruments. You know, it's strange how every movement has a kind of has a kind of tendency to reject the new movement. It was the case at the beginning of jazz, rejected by classical music, the beginning of rock rejected by jazz, and beginning of electronic music rejected by rock. And of course, here today, I've always been convinced that electronic music would become a major genre in the 21st century, and I must say that I have very strong links with the current electronic scene. Also because I'm working a lot with them, and they are also a sort of inspiration for me today.
Can we consider this new Equinox Infinity, your new album, as a kind of spin-off from the original 1978 album Equinox?
So not really. It's as we say in the movie business, it would be more as a reboot. It's like Equinox on steroids. Actually, I for the first time in my life, I started a project by the visual. And I've always been intrigued and quite excited by this kind of really iconic cover from the vinyl era, what the first Equinox cover was, these kind of strange blue creatures watching you with binoculars. And I always wondered, who are they? And what happened to them, these watchers? What happened to them today? And what would happen to them in the future? And then I built this new album more or less like as a soundtrack of this story or scenario I had in mind. And for me, that's symbolizing the evolution of technology since I started. I mean, we know that these days technology is watching us. I mean, we are spending more time on our smartphones that sometimes we are watching our partner or our own family. And this technology is also watching us, studying us, trying to sell product that we don't necessarily need, spying on us, on our private lives. So I decided to do at a very early stage this album with 2 different covers. One cover would actually symbolize a kind of peaceful green and blue world, future, and another one more dystopian and apocalyptic.
Jean-Michel, this year you celebrate 50 years in the music industry, which is your incredible career. And you've also released this amazing box set, which is called Planet Jarre. So tell us something about this box set.
Yeah, I must confess that I hate best of and greatest hits. I think that it's like taking few chapters of different books of an author and trying to make a book of those different chapters. So for this one, when we discussed with my record company, with Sony, I said, okay, I would like to conceive something special for that. And then I called that Planet Jarre, because each of us, we have our own planet. And then I tried to select my music by not by through my own taste, but just with different style categories. And I divided this anthology in 4 different parts. One part being more ambient, like the beginning of Oxygen, for instance. Another part being more dedicated to themes and melodies. Another one to sequences and what makes the DNA of electronic music, this kind of hypnotic and repetitive kind of patterns. And the fourth one being called Explorations and Early Works, based on sampling and recording raw sounds in the street or anywhere and making music around that. And I tried to, for each part, to try to find the parts able to work together for these different territories.
Your vinyl, Music for Supermarkets, is considered one of the most expensive vinyls of all time. And it was pressed, I believe, in only one copy. So tell us something about this, and who is the lucky owner? Who has the vinyl copy of Music for Supermarkets?
I don't know yet, because what I know is actually it's a very first of all I should explain very quickly what it's all about. I did this album at the beginning of the CD era, when as a premonitory actually act, saying to the music industry, be careful selling music in supermarkets like toothpaste of yogurts is going to harm a lot the industry and the identity of artists, and also killing the record shops also in those days. And that was true, of course. And then I said, okay, I'm going to do an album like a painting, like saying, okay. And then the guy who bought it, he was a Belgian guy who had a car accident, and when he woke up in the street, the first thing he listened to on the radio was one of my music. And when he heard about that, he said, I need this music, because in a sense he was thinking that probably I helped him to get his life back or something like this. And then after, he disappeared, and I don't know where it is. And the story about the fact that, because you could say, okay, if it was one copy and that destroyed the masters, why we would have an excerpt on Planet Jarre? And actually, I was doing Music for Supermarkets at the same time as I did one of my album called Zuluk. It was exactly the same kind. In the Zuluk sessions, because there is lots of similarities between both albums, and in the Zuluk sessions, I found some demos of early demos of Music for Supermarket, and I said for lots of fans, asking and wondering about this album, I thought it was quite appropriate to give them this little excerpt of kind of legendary album of mine.
Pink Floyd recorded an amazing album in Italy, in Pompeii. You performed in China, you performed in Egypt, you performed in the desert, in the Sahara Desert. So would we be correct in saying that the moon is your next destination?
Yeah, it's funny what you say, because I was a very good friend of Arthur C. Clarke, who did the 2001 A Space Odyssey. And we became quite good friends. And he said, one day Jean-Michel, you will do a concert on the moon. I said, but Arthur, it's not serious, because on the moon, by definition, you have no atmosphere, so it's silence. You have no sound. So you will find a way. So, but I'm not entirely ready yet. But to be serious, I think that these days I'm really interested to go on with, apart from world tour. I just finished a long world tour, ending in Coachella this year, and I was really moved by. We had a fantastic reception, both by the US media and the US audience. But actually, these days I'm also still interested in one-off. I did recently a concert in Saudi Arabia. It was a real historic moment to get, for the first time, an outdoor concert in front of 50,000 people, and for the first time having young girls, clapping and dancing with a mixed audience. That was really moving.
Okay, so yeah, it's true. Italy is full of wonderful locations to play in.
Of course, it's one of my dreams to do. Actually, the problem is actually Pink Floyd. Just destroyed Venice a few years ago, and then I had lots of projects in Italy, and it has been quite violently cancelled because of Pink Floyd. And I had the opportunity to talk to them about that. I mean, said, I mean, you just ruined my projects by just. Excuse me the word, by fucking the city all upside down, and that's not really cool. But actually, and also I've been always very respectful of the environment. I think it's very important to respect the environment. And I know, I mean, seriously, that Pink Floyd was not responsible for what happened in Venice, but that also made this whole thing the following years more difficult. But I really would like to do a big outdoor concert one of these days in Italy. I love Italy so much, and I've been so influenced by Italian music, Italian movies. I mean, I had a very interesting relationship with Federico Fellini. He's been a big inspiration to me, and he said, you know, Jean-Michel, I always thought that in my life I was doing different movies each free time, and by looking back, I thought that I always did the same movies, just a variation of myself, and I think it's very true. I think an artist, he has only one thing to say, and this fantasy or this obsession to conceive the ideal movie or the ideal album that will never achieved. That makes you alive and creative all along your life, I think.
Jean-Michel, we are living in this new era of electronic, of this new digital world, can we say? And we're living also musically, it's like we're living in a streaming world where you're streaming all the music from everywhere. But also at the same time, vinyl has never been more important and more necessary in the music business.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's an old concept, and I think that you can, in days where the streaming is so strong, you can easily understand that streaming is the next way, but it's absolutely not a contradiction with vinyl, because it's something else. And it's something like I'm very into artificial intelligence and all this kind of media, and artificial intelligence has been a great source of inspiration for this project. But at the same time, I think that I mean, paper, books, and all that will last much more than we think. It's interesting to see that in every country where the internet, the web is the more developed, like in Japan, like in the UK, for instance, it's where books, newspapers, and vinyls are the strongest.
Okay, thank you very much. Jean-Michel, it's been a pleasure to have you on our show on Radio Monte Carlo. Thanks. All the best.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.